Our present symbolic design, the cross, consists essentially of two lines that intersect to form right angles. For most ancient peoples, the Greek cross was a metaphor for the four indestructible elements of creation: fire, earth, air, and water, thus symbolizing permanence and eternity. This symbol combines the law of duality and of opposites such as summer and winter, night and day, right and left, mind and matter, life and death, north and south, and east and west, etc. This perplexity of opposites are 180 degrees different and apparently require an understanding of interaction and reaction. The cross within its regular patterns of nature originally represented the revolving sun, the annual cycle, as the earth orbits around it, producing the four essential seasons here on earth. The cross represents matter, form, things of the earth, and desire. It is the symbol of the wheel of birth, life, death, and rebirth. Dualism in ethics describes the recognition of the independent and opposing principles of good and evil. This is the wheel which we must all learn and rise above, as it represents basic desires. The key word for the cross is body. You should know that there are many variations of the cross used throughout the world today, such as the Tau, T-A-U. A Tau cross, the 19th letter of the Greek alphabet, was designed in a symbolic form of the T. The Greek letter T, cross, for example, is T-shaped. Also called St. Anthony's Cross, Jesus Christ was executed on this T-shaped cross. Another popular saint, St. Andrew, died on an X-shaped cross. And the Latin cross has a circle in the middle of it too. To name a few examples, yet there are many other types of crosses known throughout the world. The cross represents blessings. The cross was also used in the ancient world as a symbol of execution by crucifixion. In Roman times, only the lowest class of criminals were crucified. In Christianity, the cross became not only a symbol of the shameful death of Jesus Christ as a criminal on a Tau-shaped Roman cross, but also of his subsequent resurrection to eternal life and of his promise of salvation to the Christian believers. The empty cross symbolizes Jesus' resurrection rather than his death. The four opposite points of the cross represent the torque, or turning effect, which creates motion. A torque applied to an object tends to change the object's rate of rotational motion. The torque, or turning effect, of a force about a given center is measured by the force times the distance of the center from the line of the force. An important kind of force is the gravitational attraction that exists between any two bodies, which is known as couplings. For example, let's consider the law of magnetism, where like poles repel each other and opposite poles attract. Children are produced by the opposite attraction of men and women. Could this be considered a hybrid child? On a factual level, the proof of the forces of attraction or repulsion between poles, etc., is directly proportional to the strength of the poles and inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Any action of one magnet on another can then be described as the net effect of the forces between the pairs of poles. If a body is to be in equilibrium, balance, with regard to rotation, the sum of all the clockwise torques, turnings that is, must equal the sum of all the counterclockwise torques, or turnings of cross motion. Thank you. This is an ASTROPREP Future Keys production. Our present subject, the semicircle, is one of the four basic forms used within the structures of the zodiac signs and also the planetary energies. Our present symbolic design The semicircle symbolizes mind linking to the brain. It can also be thought of as a bowl which holds all past and present life experiences. Let's begin by dividing a central point circle in half. Now we see on screen 1/2 of a circle which is equal to 180 degrees. 1/2 of a circumference of a circle. A total circle, as we have learned, is equal to 360 degrees. It is important to note that basically the word semicircle means half of something. For example, half of a circle as divided by a diameter, or half of a brain, which is divided into halves of a circle. What is a hemispheric domain? It's related to whether a person is predominantly right-handed or left-handed. For example, if a person is right-handed, the left hemispheric side of the brain responds to math, language, and speech, and the right hemispheric side, music, complex images, spatial relationships, and how this person recognizes and expresses emotions. A person who is left-handed, the right hemispheric side of the brain processes math, language, and speech, and the left hemispheric side, music, complex images, spatial relationships, and how this person recognizes and expresses emotions. Here, with reference to the semicircle symbol, means the connection of the spirit communicating to the body, mind, and brain, the vital principles and animating force that within all human beings. Yet the spirit is lacking a material form or substance. So now the spirit creates a vehicle to communicate things into material form. The semicircle represents a receiving container that interprets the brain's mechanized components, which contains thoughts, memories, and reasoning, such as a bowl holds water. The brain, the central processing unit of the body, functions by complex neurons, which are impulse-conducting cells or nerve cells, composed of proteins, fats, and other molecules suspended in water known as protoplasmic fluids, which is a substance essential for the life function of a cell. These nerve cells conduct impulses communicating electrically and chemically and crystallizing its minerals in the form of tree-like branches connecting and relating to nerve cells through the entire body of an organism, which now travels away from the body of the nerve cells into and out of a nerve fiber, which has branch-like minerals which connect into other nerve cells. Next, the nerve cell receivers signals other impulse nerve fibers to respond through chemicals that transmit nerve impulses known as neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters set off electrical charges in the nerve cells, which then carries the signals electrochemically to the nerve fiber. The nerve fibers integrate the information, which is then transmitted electrochemically down to the other nerve cells that act as a receiving nerve cells, to a smaller bubble-like structure that releases neurotransmitters that carry the signal across a gap between two neurons, connecting by way of nerve impulse terminals, which transmits to muscle cells and gland cells. At this point, the neurotransmitters respond to electrical chemical response by way of receptors. This function acts as a trigger effect that communicates with thousands of other nerve cells within the brain, which responds from the spirit level at the start of the whole process. You should know that many thousands of nerve cells are involved with even the simplest behavior of thoughts. Now the spirit has created a material connection by way of the body, giving the brain its ability to think, communicate, remember, and reason. The flow here is that the spirit gives life to the body and the mind communicates ideas of the spirit to the body and associates these breaths of thought to the will and emotions. The mind associates itself with the brain, exploring its capabilities, tendencies, and dispositions towards actions, total consciousness, and unconscious mental state. This semicircle symbol stores and communicates memories via mental storing and recalling of information called memory. Remembering is essential for intelligent behavior. Memory storage requires a chemical change in any number of the brain's approximately 1 trillion neutrons. The process of storing and retrieving information in the brain is central to learning and thinking. Logic is using deductive reasoning of the general to the specific. You should also note that there are two distinct types of memory: motor skill memory and factual memory. There are 3 levels of memory: immediate memory, short-term memory, and long-term memory. There are 4 different types of remembering: recollection, recall, recognition, and relearning. The semicircle symbol is designed with the capacity for storing information of the spirit to the body, the receiver container. This is an ASTROPREP Future Keys production. Thank you, and stay tuned.
This is your cosmic guide.
Our present subject, the circle, is one of the 4 basic forms used within the structures of the zodiac signs and also the planetary energies. It is important to note our present symbolic design is the circle. This symbolic reference expresses that a circle is a point of opposites in proportion. Any line that passes through the center of a circle or segment and is completed by the circle is called a diameter of the circle. So, a diameter is any line segment that passes through the center of a circle. And a segment is that measurement of a line between any 2 points on the line. A chord is any straight line that is blocked or intercepted by the circle. A radius is a section of a line from the center of the circle to the perimeter of the circle. A perimeter is a closed curve or circle which is synonymous with a circumference of a circle. A circumference is a boundary line of the circle. An arc of a circle is a measured part of a circle, shown between 2 points on the circle. A central angle is an angle with the vertex or high point, apex, or summit at the center of the circle and with its sides forming a radius. This means a line segment that joins the center of a circle with any point on its circumference of the circle. A central angle is opposite that of a fixed position on the circle by the arc that exists between the points at which the central angle sides intersect the circle. Of all level outlines having the same perimeter or circumference, the circle has the greatest area. The ratio or relationship in degree of the circumference to the diameter, which is the center of the circle, is an unchanging symbol called pi. Pi is one of the most important mathematical constants and plays a role in many calculations, verifying and proving mathematics, physics, engineering, and other sciences. Pi expresses the ratio of the circumference to the diameter in degrees. Pi is approximately 3.141592, although 3.1416 and even 36 are significantly accurate for ordinary purposes. Concentric circles are circles having different perimeters or circumferences, but the same center. or intersection, and of course the circle never meets. Check this formula out. An area of a circle is equal to pi, multiplied by the enclosed area of the circle's radius. An arc of a circle is proportional and related to the circle's common point, or angles, opposite at the center, and forms the basis of angular measurement. There are 360 degrees in a circle. This means that each side of the circle from the center has an opposite point, which is the basis of an angular measurement. The circle consists of a central point and a circumference, which together form a unity, and is also called a reference point. It represents divine unity from which all proceeds and to which all returns. The circle represents spirit. It is that which all things are and are not. That is, everything outside the circle is potential circle, and all things within the circle is potential life. The circle itself represents material form, or manifestation, which means the presence of something already in reality. The circle is simply spirit, that force which gives life to everything. Spirit is the divine thought of which everything is a part. The circle contains within itself the power to expand in all directions. The circle establishes simultaneous existence and relates to all planes of existence that are both horizontal and vertical to some other plane of existence. The equatorial system applies, for example, only to the Earth as a whole, being the expression of its rotation. The elliptic is solar system wide. To be exact, it is the plane of the Earth's orbit only. The true plane of the whole solar system is slightly different. The galactic plane is vastly wider, since it is that of, or to be exact, parallel to that of, our Milky Way galaxy. The horizon system applies only to a place where we stand. Indeed, there is a different horizon plane for each spot on Earth at each time. So there is an infinity of horizons. The other three systems, each, has only one fundamental plane, and this is what establishes the duality of opposites and aspects of every form of material form or manifestation, creating different directions. Such as the equatorial system, which expresses the Earth's rotation, creating the four seasonal system, summer, winter, autumn, and spring, or east, west, north, south points, or day and night, life and death, female, male, and expansion, as well as withdrawal, to name a few within the circle. The circle is the starting point for all directions. When a horizontal line intersects the vertical line, four quadrants are created. The circle is divided into four divisions based on the intersection of the horizontal and vertical lines. Divided by the vertical lines, the circle becomes two semicircles, one representing the involuntary actions, which include basic life processes as heartbeat and respiration, as well as reflective responses to stimuli, which include touch, heat, and sound. And the other basic life process is the evolutionary course of the soul, which relates to karmic cycles and records of the spirit within each life lived. One form of duality generated by the circle is particles of energy, giving rise to magnetism and electricity, which promotes motion and activity. What is a magnet? It's a natural black or opaque metallic mineral stone, an oxide of iron object. The magnets therefore produced are polarized. This means that each magnet has two sides or ends. called north and south-seeking poles, and that's how and why like poles repel one another and unlike poles attract. Limitations are set within the energy particles, which relates to the central point, which establishes the connection between the creator and the creation. This is ASTROPREP Future Keys production. Stay tuned. The cross, the circle, the semicircle, and the arrow.
This is your cosmic guide.
It is important to note that an arrow is a directional symbol. This ancient arrow is designed with a straight, long, thin shaft leading to a pointed head, which varies according to what its purpose is intended for. Often, an arrow has flight stabilizing vanes or feathers, which are located at the beginning of its long, thin shaft. This arrow shaft from early ancient times were made of different types of woods from a variety of different trees. Today, most arrows are made from aluminum, fiberglass, and graphite. Also, wood is still used. The ancient pointed arrowheads were made of shells from the sea or the encasement of certain organisms, insects, and turtles. A shell is usually an extension outer covering of an egg, a fruit, or a nut. And the horns of certain mammals such as cattle, sheep, goats, antelope, giraffe, and rhinoceros. The horns of these mammals are made up of a bony core from keratin material, which are permanent structures projecting from the heads of these animals such as antlers. Keratin is a tough, insoluble protein substance that is the chief structural constituent of hair, nails, horns, and hoofs. There are a few other materials that have assisted with the development of the ancient arrowheads, and they are metal products. Metal is an electropositive element that usually has a shiny surface that are generally good conductors of heat and electricity and can be melted, fused, or hammered into thin sheets, preferably into the shape of an arrowhead or drawn into wires, etc. Still other materials such as precious stones and gems made from a hard, durable material called mineral rock. Also designed at the rear of the main shaft of the arrow are directional feathers called vanes, which branch out of the framework of the main shaft, creating balance for the flight. More modern arrows have spin wings or plastic vanes for feathers. Most feathers were made from such birds as eagle, crow, goose, and turkey. The bow is a simple machine, a two-armed spring. The archer stores energy by bending the bow. This potential energy is transferred to the arrow in the form of kinetic energy. When the arrow is released, the action of the motion is capable of being, but not yet in existence. This means having potential and is related to the motion of something. That's kinetic energy. Our present symbolic design is the arrow. The arrow is a symbol used sparingly in astrology. It stands for dynamic movement in a special direction. Actually, all astrological impulses represented by different planets and signs give rise to movement in certain directions. The use of the arrow may therefore seem repetitious. However, this symbol is used to indicate acceleration of primary energies. Ordinarily, the arrow has two aspects. The first shows directions in movement, and the second, the purpose for which it is employed: protection, hunting, and recreation. The arrow is used as an aid for combat with an opposing force. The skill in archery attained by hard work, arduous, difficult, and testing training, and great austerity, rigid sacrifice, has made the symbol both dynamic and severe, that's strict. Furthermore, an arrow can be shot only by the voluntary action of the archer. The arrow implies self-will and determination. It is a symbol of spiritual pursuit, something which requires a special category of human being and a special mission. Such activities are not possible for everyone. That is why the arrow represents the spiritual urge in many ancient teachings. The arrow stands for one-pointed spiritual ethic. The disciple is urged to shoot his arrow pointedly with attention and concentration towards his or her ultimate source and goal, the divine self. The arrow is an instrument for achieving noble aims as well as for defending oneself. Warriors express their reverence or feelings of appreciation and affection by shooting arrows at the feet of their teachers and elders. The arrow is used to indicate submission to the higher self and thereby the opening of oneself to the mighty flow of spiritual forces. The arrow is an instrument to express one's superior skill and ability, prowess. It is a pointed instrument to hit an object and aim to be achieved. The success in such effort is attained by concentrated and controlled attention, adequate physical strength, and necessary psychophysical coordination. These are the qualities which are realized only when the soul has reached a certain stage of evolution. Only when the individual becomes fearless and is able to lay down even his or her own body for the task at hand. Then they can acquire the skills for higher spiritual attainment. One can appreciate the relatedness of this symbol in relation towards the symbolic reference of the planet symbol Mars and the sign symbol Scorpio, or the sign symbol Sagittarius, and also the planetary symbol for the planet Neptune, as we will see throughout this program. This is an ASTROPREP Future Keys production. Thank you, and stay tuned.
Interpreting the basic structures of the astrological symbols, the glyphs, meanings. The astrological symbols of the planets and the zodiac signs are symbolized by four basic forms: the cross, the circle, the semicircle, and the arrow. By four basic forms: the cross, the circle, the semicircle, and the arrow. Interpreting the basic structures of the astrological symbols, the glyphs, meanings.